Welcome to Small Arm Solutions. Today, finally, Glock has answered the prayers to manufacture a Gen 5 in something other than 9mm. The Gen 5 was released in August of 2017, and what the Gen 5 was basically a FBI model G17M, or G17 modified, which had several modifications to it. Now, overall, if you look at the Glock generations 1 through 5, once you hit generations 2 through 5, they've been very, very small incremental changes. Glock has been primarily interested solely in the law enforcement and military markets over the last few years. Every gun that they've produced has been a 9mm. And a lot of it has to do with the trends of law enforcement switching away from the 45 and the 40 and going back to the 9mm due to the modern ammunition. It gives you very little benefit to go with a 40 caliber or a 45 over the high capacity and low recoil of the 9mm. So when you look at the generations 4 through 5, which we're going to go over, I want to give you a little bit of background on where the G22 Gen 5 has come from. Now, most of you have never heard of the G22 Gen 5. There's a G22, 23, and 27. There was never a true announcement. The G22 Gen 4 basically was designed for the Sao Paulo police. They were looking for a 40 caliber version of a Glock, and that's where the Gen 5 interest in where it came from. There was a difference between the one that was used by Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, and that was those had a manual safety on them, very much like that of the MHS submission that Glock had for the U.S. government. So that's really where the G22 Gen 5 came from. Now, it was pretty much around October when these guns started sprinkling into distributors. To my knowledge, not that I'm on the inside of Glock or part of their preferred list for as far as media is concerned, I have not heard any official announcements from Glock. I didn't hear any press releases. I heard basically nothing about the introduction of the G22 Gen 5. Don't know why that was. Perhaps there was something that I didn't hear. I do a lot of research myself, and there was no content creators that I saw anywhere or no written publications other than what came out of Brazil about the release of the Gen 5. I want to do a shout out to Big Iron Armory in Portland, Oregon. They were generous enough to loan me a Gen 5. They heard me talk about how I wanted to review one on one of my live chats, and they contacted us and said they'd be willing to loan us one. So I'm very grateful to be able to bring this one to you. So let's talk about the Gen 4 versus Gen 5. On top we have the Gen 4, and on bottom we have the Gen 5. Now, if you look at some of the evolution of the Gen 3s, 2, 3s, Generation 2 and 3, the main difference was the addition of an accessory rail and finger grooves on the pistol grip. Now we get into the Gen 4. The Gen 4 brought us the embedded recoil spring, or the two-piece recoil spring. It also brought us an accessory rail. It also brought us a new type of grip on it as far as the type of stippling that it had on there versus the original ones. They're a little bit easier to hold on to. Of course, sights remain the same. Now, for the most part, every part on the Gen 5 is new. The concepts are the same, but there's been a lot of improvements that have been done to it. Looking on the outside, first thing we'll talk about is the barrel. The barrel is referred to as the Glock's marksman barrel. As you may or may not know, the Glock uses a polygon cold hammer forged barrel. There's no sharp edges on there. It's a much tighter twist on there, or more tighter choke on there. You get a better bullet to barrel fit. You get better gas seal, slightly higher velocities, and it takes a hell of a long time. In fact, most people would never wear out a Glock barrel in their life. Now, there's a lot of, I would say, controversy surrounding this. What happened with the marksman barrel. The marksman barrel basically is the exact same barrel, but it has embedded lands and grooves, sharp edges. Now, rumor has it that was to increase accuracy. Another rumor has it, for as far as the G17M was concerned, there's an issue with forensics being able to identify barrels. And I can tell you, from being a forensic firearms examiner, when you look under the microscope, there's no question that the barrels on the Gen 5s are far easier to identify than the Gen 4s. So some people will tell you it's due to increasing accuracy. Others will tell you it's due to the forensic aspect from the FBI with the G17M. So it's one of those questions that we'll just never know the real answer to, but there is definitely a difference. For as far as accuracy is concerned, I can't say I see much of a difference in my hands. One being more accurate than the other. Now, contrary to popular belief, it is not a conventional rifle barrel. You cannot fire lead on these either. You still have the cold hammer forge. You still have all the same properties to it. You just happen to have sharper edges on there that give you a better leading edge that supposedly will increase accuracy, but also gives you better engraving on there as well. Next is the finish. The finish is called NDLC, or near diamond-like finish. Now, Glock has gone through some various changes over the years as far as finish is concerned. The original finish was Tenefer, which was done in Austria. Well, when Glock USA opened up their doors here and they started manufacturing guns here in the U.S., and the original Tenefer finish was not legal for as far as EPA because it was a cyanide base, so they had to change. Now, what you see here, NDLC, according to Glock, is a better finish. That really stands to be seen. If you see companies like Walther who are still doing if you see companies like Walther who are still doing Tenefer finish over there, they claim that it's superior to anything else that's out there. Glock, on the other hand, since they're manufacturing both Austria and here, they had to have a finish that was universal. They could use in both places, so there was one finish for all guns. So the manufacturing process would be the same. Very, very durable finish, though. There's a complete redesign of the trigger group. We're going to take these apart and we're going to take a look in the inside. Now, first, if we notice, we have what we refer to as the first pin, which is the pin that was added to the Glock 22 Gen 2, which due to the dynamics of the recoil, you did have a stronger locking block that was on there, so you added this first pin. Then come Gen 3, all guns had the first pin. Now we go to the Gen 5. Now we see the elimination of the first pin. Now we look in the inside. We'll see modifications to the locking block where it's slightly longer here. And this is really where you want to see the major differences. If you look right here, you'll see that we have the trigger return spring. Now, I've done a lot of test firing with Glocks, a lot of endurance testing in my career. In fact, it was not uncommon for me to do a 10 to 12,000 round endurance test in a week on many of these. I had one particular Glock 17 pistol, which I had documented over 75,000 rounds through, and I had broken 3 of these trigger return springs. The gun would still fire. You just have to manually push it forward. This was, if you could say there's a link on Glock, this was it. If you look at the Gen 5, they made some corrections. They reversed the spring, as you can see right here, how it attaches from the front. This significantly increases the durability of this spring and this mechanism. So this is a whole different type of a mechanism that you have here for as far as a trigger return spring. So you have your extractors on here, and also you'll notice ambidextrous slide stop. Now again, with Glock we call them slide stops, not slide release, because they weren't designed to be a slide release. So on the Gen 4 and 1, 2, and 3, you have just a left-hand slide stop. On the Gen 5s, now you have ambi slide stops. So if you look at the finishes on here, both of these have the removable back straps. They both have the same kind of checkering on the front, but if you do notice, you have finger grooves on the Gen 4. Those have been eliminated on the Gen 5. If you look on the bottom, you'll see a lot more of a flare on the magazine well of the Gen 5 versus the Gen 4. Now we're going to take a look at the slides. The biggest improvement you will see is the redesign of the firing pin safety. The firing pin safety is the most important safety on a handgun because it prevents the striker, in this case a striker, from being able to move forward unless the trigger is pulled to the rear. So we have the rounded one on here we've had Gen 1 through Gen 4. We have a much larger one with more steepness to it for better engagement. And we have a redesigned firing pin that goes along with it. Now, if you also notice, we have a much longer recoil spring. As we said before, the parts on the Gen 5 are not interchangeable with the parts from Gens 1 through 4. You have a different recoil spring, a longer recoil spring, and I will tell you that when you fire these two side by side, you will feel less felt recoil with the Gen 5 over the Gen 4. There's absolutely no question about that. Looking at the front of the slides, you also see how this area here is basically rounded off on here, and more of an anti-snag, gives you less of a board feeling to it. That's one of the benefits. We look at the muzzles. You'll see that we have a countersunk. This is countersunk into here, so you have protecting of the rifling over the original barrel. This is part of the Glock marksman barrel. As you will be seeing photographs that show you the difference between the marksman barrel versus a standard barrel. So if you look for identification on the hoods, you'll see you can identify a Gen 5 by the 5 that's on there. Now, you will find Gen 5s that are made in the U.S. as well as in Austria. I've had people ask me about which ones are better, and I tell them all the same thing. Neither one. These are the exact same guns. They're made by the same people, the same machinery, the same everything. In fact, even the factory at Glock is running on European voltage. All the machines come from Austria. All of the materials. There are no materials for this gun that come out of the United States. They all come from Austria. They're all shipped in, the bar stock, the polymer, everything. So there is no difference between the quality. Now, if you do notice, you will see more of a larger, slightly thicker here. It certainly appears as well. Both of them will have the loaded cartridge indicator, loaded chamber indicator. The next thing we're going to go over is the magazines. A couple changes to the Gen 5 magazines. As you can see with the Gen 5 magazine, we have an orange follower versus a black, more high visibility. And also we have an enhanced floor plate. Now this happens to be a Vickers floor plate on here, but you can see how this comes more to an angle on here. Much easier to grab. Of course, the Vickers floor plates, which I'm very fond of, they make it much easier to rip it out of the magazine. So looking over the stats on the G22 Gen 5 and 40, you have an overall length of 7.95 inches, the slide length of 7.32 inches, a width of 1.34 inches. The height with the magazine inserted, 5.51 inches, a barrel length, 4.49 inches, with an overall weight of 28.4 inches. And it has a typical Glock safe action system. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the G22 Gen 5 to the range and we're going to see how it shoots. Now, due to the ammunition shortage, we only fired about 120 rounds out of this. We're all in the channels. All of us content creators are feeling the hit from the ammunition. Normally, we like to put about 500 rounds per gun, but that just wasn't possible. What we fired was 50 rounds of the Black Hills 180 grain full metal jacket. We fired 50 rounds of the SIG's 180 grain full metal jacket, and also 20 rounds of the SIG 180 grain V-Crown. Now, reliability was what you would expect. It was stellar. Accuracy was excellent, as you'll see from the target. It was just what you would expect from Glock. Now, for as far as is the 40 caliber dead? Absolutely not. It's lost its popularity with law enforcement just due to the modern updates in ammunition. Is there anything wrong with the 40 caliber? No. Are you losing anything by having a 40 caliber? No. Especially with a full-size duty gun where you're carrying 15 rounds, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's an excellent service pistol, duty pistol. It's excellent self-defense. There's nothing wrong with it. One of my preferred rounds that I like to use is the Hydroshock Deep, which is fairly new by Federal. This gives you some of the benefits of the HST with the original technology of the Hydroshock with a little tit in the middle of the bullet, which increases its speed for as far as expansion. It's an excellent round, and so is a regular Federal HST, as well as the Gold Dot 2. You have excellent ammunition that's available for the 40 S&W pistol, and it's there, and it's reliable. So overall, I'm happy to see it. You will also see, if you go on Gun Broker, you'll see the Gen 5 in Model 22, Model 23, and Model 27. They are there. There's not a lot of them. Again, they trickled in. Why Glock has made no major announcements, I have no idea. Why it hasn't been publicized, I have no idea. I'm very happy to finally see them listening to somebody outside of just the military communities who wants larger calibers. The American public is still saying we want to see 10 millimeter, we want to see 45, we want to see more, the entire product line offered in Gen 5. So whenever Glock decides to get around to it, another new product that we had a chance to get our hands on was the Streamlight TLR1, the high resolution Streamlight, and we're looking at 1,000 lumens of power here. Absolutely incredible technical light. Has a switch that's accessible by your index finger. We've had a chance to play with this quite a bit, and I like these. I like the smaller one that goes on the P365. This one here is nice because it comes with several different attachment points. Glock does not use 1913 rail. They have their own accessory rail, so we have a mounting point for that. We also have 1913 rail, as well as for some of the other proprietary ones. But the Streamlights are some of the best tactical lights that are out there, and you do find holsters that are out there that are designed to have these on the pistols. So this is another really neat accessory that I've just been messing with. This gun came with the standard Glock sights. I prefer the Ameriglow myself, but you can also get suppressor sights for it. I'm not aware of any suppressor barrels for the Gen 540 yet, because again, this is a brand new gun. But I expect at some point you'll see some of the aftermarket companies answering that call. So I hope you all did enjoy this video. If you do, please click like, please subscribe, and even better, share. Thank you.